Hello dear children of class 6 and welcome to yet another online class of geography. Dear children, today we will be continuing with the previous lesson that we started, major landforms of the earth. Now if you remember, previously we learnt about how the different landforms came into being. We learnt about different periods of landform formation and we also learnt about different continents. Now today we'll be learning about another what you call landform structure that our earth has in abundance, and it is the mountains. So today we'll be learning about the mountains. So let's begin with what our knowledge is when it comes to mountains. So we know that mountains are massive areas of land, okay, massive areas of land which have risen up than the normal level. They are of higher altitude. Second thing, they have slopes. They have slope. Now these slopes can be gentle, that is like this, or can be steep. The difference will be gentle slope are easier to climb, whereas it is very difficult to climb a steep slope which is straight or flat vertical. Okay, so this is how we can define the mountain. Remember, mountains are the massive areas of earth's crust that has risen high in altitude and have gentle or steep slope, and they also have a summit or peak. Now mountains, as they are of higher altitude, so at the higher altitude or at the higher levels the weather is very cold. It's most of the mountains, the peaks are covered with snow. Now dear children, when it comes to mountains, if we have to classify the mountains, we have already done two classifications in our previous chapter. Okay, we have fold mountains, then we have block mountains, and then the new one which we will be learning is volcanic mountains. Okay, fold mountains and block mountains, we already covered it in our previous chapter. So the new thing we'll be learning here is volcanic mountain, but yet we will revise both fold mountains and block mountains. So first type of the mountain is fold mountains. Now fold mountains, if you remember, are formed due to upfold of the earth's crust. You see, when two sections of the plate, they come in contact with each other and they put equal pressure on each other, then they fold up. The process is called folding, and the mountain structure formed due to folding is known as the fold mountain. Now fold mountains are of two types: young fold mountains and old fold mountains. Young fold mountains have been recently formed, okay, and the crust is still folding up, so they are increasing in height. Old fold mountains, not so. Second basic difference is that young fold mountains have sharp pointed peaks, whereas old fold mountains have denuded, weathered, okay, not so sharp peaks. So I hope you get me here. Now if fold mountains are formed due to folding, then block mountains are formed due to faulting. If you remember, faulting is the process by which cracks appear on the earth crust. Cracks or depressions or holes, you can say, if you have to make it easy, on the earth's crust. Now what happens, let's see here. If you remember, suppose this is your block of land, okay, this is your block of land. Now let's suppose crack appears not in one place but in two places, let's say here and here. If the crack appears in two places, okay, or the faults appear in two places, then what happens? The land in the middle, the land structure in the middle, it skids down. It drops down, forming a rift valley. Rift valley. Okay. But the two formations that are left above, on the sides, they are known as block mountains. So you can understand that block mountains are formed due to process of faulting of the earth crust from two places. Whenever in two places the cracks appear, the land in the middle subsides down, okay, and the blocks of crust left on both sides become block mountain. And then comes the volcanic mountain. In class 5, dear children, I believe you have already learned about volcanoes. Volcanoes are the cracks or depressions on the earth crust from where the lava flows out. Now most of the time when this lava flows out, it is hot and molten. But when it comes out, when it was coming out, it is magma. When it comes out, it is lava. So this lava, when it starts flowing, it is hot and molten. But when it comes in contact with the earth's atmosphere, humidity, that is the water vapor content in the air, it cools down. And when it cools down, it solidifies into rock. Known as igneous rock. These particular igneous rocks, they pile up, forming volcanic mountains. Okay. Now this is what I have to cover for you. Let's see now what the book says about it. Okay. So mountains are massive areas of earth crust that rise to great heights above their surroundings. They may have steep or gentle slopes and occur in long narrow chains called ranges. Remember, mountains are never alone. There is not a single mountain. Instead, there will be group of mountains which is like a chain, and it is called range. There are three types of mountain: fold mountain, volcanic mountain, and block mountain, which we covered just now. So let's see formation of mountains. How mountains are formed? Mountains are formed when two large plates known as tectonic plates collide under Earth's surface. This collision, that is hitting each other, leads to plates being pushed upwards to form peaks. The process of folding. Sometimes the collision of these plates pushes the heavier plate below the lighter plate. This process is called subduction. Now it's not necessary that every time two plates, when they collide, they will fold up only. Sometimes when they collide, the heavier plate, it moves above the lighter plate and it pushes the lighter plate down. Okay. This process is known as subduction. Remember this word? Subduction. The process by which the heavier plate pushes down the lighter plate on collision. These movements inside the earth are responsible for formation of mountains and volcanoes, and this process is called endogenous. Why endogenous? Because it comes from inside. This process occurs under the earth crust. It comes from inside the earth crust, hence it is called endogenous. Then fold mountains. Let's come to fold mountains first. Fold mountains are formed when layers of earth crust are folded by compression. The compression is caused by forces generated by movement inside the earth. Okay. Now fold mountains are of two types. First one is old fold mountain. These are fold mountains which were formed over 250 million years ago, such as the Urals in Russia, the Appalachians in North America, and the Aravallis in India. These Urals, Appalachians, and Aravallis, they are the example of old fold mountains. They were formed over 250 million years ago. Old fold mountains have gentle slope and low altitude due to weathering over time. As their rocks have been eroded and washed away and broken down, now the old fold mountains, they have gentle slope as well as denuded peak, flat slopes, and hence their height is also low. Then you have young fold mountains. These fold mountains, which were formed comparatively recently, about 25 million years ago, not 250 million years ago, instead recently new, that is 25 million years ago. They comprise the world's highest mountain ranges. Young fold mountains are rugged and lofty. Rugged means they have steep slope, okay, it's very difficult to climb, and lofty means they are of higher altitude. The Rockies of North America, the Andes of South America, the Alps of Europe, Great Dividing Range of Australia, Atlas Mountains in Africa, and Himalayas of Asia are example of young fold mountains. All this remember: Rockies of North America, Andes of South America, Alps of Europe, Great Dividing Range of Australia, Atlas Mountains in Australia, and Himalayas in Asia. They are all the example of young fold mountains. Then comes faulting. Faulting is the rupturing, that is breaking or fracturing of rock strata surface due to strain, due to pulling. Okay, remember, if folding occurs due to compression, that is pushing, faulting occurs due to pulling, that is tectonic plates moving away from each other. When such cracks or faults occur on the Earth's crust, the land between the crack sinks. I told you, if the crack occurs, especially if two cracks occurs parallel, the land between them sinks, subsides, leaving upstanding blocks on either side of the fault. Once the land sinks, there are two blocks left on either side of the fault. These blocks are called block mountains. The edges of such mountains are steep and surfaces are almost level. The Vosges and the Black Forest of Europe and Vindhyas in India are example of block mountains. Now comes volcanic mountains. Perhaps you have read or heard about destruction caused by volcanic eruptions of Mount Krakatoa, Mount Vesuvius, Mount Pelee. All three of these are volcanic mountains. Volcanic mountains are built when molten lava, ash, cinder and dust from deep inside the earth come out on Earth's surface through cracks in the Earth's crust and accumulate, that is gather in the shape of high cones. Okay, the normal structure that we build for any mountain, that is this triangular form here, this triangular form is actually nothing but a formation of volcanic mountain. The opening through which lava and other materials come up to the surface is called a vent. The funnel shaped depression at the top of the vent is called crater. Example of volcanic mountains include Mount Fuji in Japan, Mount Mayon in Philippines, Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Mount Vesuvius and Mount Etna in Italy. Now you see, dear children, in case of a volcanic mountain, there is a vent. There is a vent. It is through this vent, through this path, that all this volcanic material, that is lava, ash, cinder, dust, everything comes out. And on top here, there is not a peak, but instead there is a depression, a hole. It is called crater. It is called crater. So crater is the opening through which all these volcanic materials flow out. They come out, they assemble in the form of cone, hence forming the volcanic mountains. Now remember, like every other landform, mountains are also very important for us. So let's see what are the importance of mountains. First of all, mountains are storehouse of water. Many rivers originate in the glaciers in the mountain. If we need fresh water, if we need rivers, then the best source of the rivers formation is the mountain. So you can say mountain is the storehouse of rivers and water. Next, reservoirs are made and water from these mountains is used for irrigation and generation of hydroelectricity. The rivers which come down the mountains, they are trapped, they are tapped with the help of reservoirs and dams, and the water is used for irrigation and hydroelectricity. The river valleys and terraces are most suitable for farming and cultivation of crop, as the land is very fertile. The land in and around the mountains is very fertile, okay, and so it is used for agriculture. Mountains support rich variety of flora and fauna. Flora means plants, fauna means animals. You see, mountains are mostly, the lower altitude of the mountains are mostly covered with dense jungle. So these jungles, they support both different type of animals as well as different type of plants. They are home to it. Mountains also affect the climate in area. Okay, for example, Himalaya cause rainfall in India by blocking the southwest monsoon winds. They also protect us from cold winds of Central Asia in winter. Okay, so mountains, they also affect the climate of an area. Next, mountains are also rich in mineral and metal deposits which are essential for industries. Next one, according to United Nations Development Program, mountains provide home for around 720 million people who are engaged in farming in mountainous areas. They live there only. Forests in the mountain region provide fuel, fodder, shelter and other products like gum, wild fruits, mushroom, resins. So forests that mountains support, they are a good source of forest products. Mountains provide an ideal holiday destination for tourists. They visit mountains for their natural scenic beauty and relaxation, especially during summer times. Though this time, sadly due to COVID, nobody could do any such destination journey, but most of the time people love to go to mountainous areas, especially in summer, so that they can get some R&R, rest and relaxation. Many recreation, sporting and tourism activities take place in mountains. Paragliding, hang gliding, river rafting and skiing are popular sports in the mountains. So these sports, they support the employment of many people in the mountainous region. So children, today only this much. I'll give you pick up some drawings which you will have to do in your geography copy. Alright, and we'll continue with the plateaus later on. Thank you very much.